left alternator's just packed up on me. We've lost an engine. Come on, engine one. That's it. Fire up. Hello guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Sim Shack. I'm Sim UK. Today we are in A2A's A600 Aerostar, and this is a fantastic aircraft. If you've never seen the movie American Made, I highly recommend you go and check it out. This aircraft was the aeroplane used in that movie, and it's based on a true story, so the things that they were doing really did happen. And yeah, I mean, in sort of late 70s, early 80s, this must have looked pretty much like futuristic. It looks fast. It really does look fast. It flies, I think, cruises around just under 300 miles an hour. Absolutely superb aircraft. It could fly just as well on one engine as it can on two. Excuse me, I'm having a bout of hiccups here. Now, I'm a little late to the video review footage thing for this, so I'm not going to go showing you what everybody else has shown you. I'm going to focus on the stuff that nobody else seems to understand or know or can figure out for themselves yet. So hopefully this video will be more interesting for you. I'm going to show you how to set the controls up. I'm going to show you the difference between the different persistent states and how you can get everything working when they're in a particular state. So let's jump in. We've got the laptop here. If I shut that down a second. Come on, sit somewhere other than there. God's sakes. I have not had this problem before. This is a new problem. Love it, just as I'm starting a video. So there are some bugs and issues that not many people are talking about. Most of them, I think, are Microsoft Flight Simulator related. For example, if you try and record this aircraft, it doesn't record its persistence at all well. There we go. Kind of got itself all stuck and whatnot. Right, so down here in the left hand corner we have the tablet. If you open it, it comes here. You should be able to drag it around the aircraft. Put it in various states. Yeah, it seems at the moment it just wants to drag itself lower only. So we'll leave that where it is for now. So you can't actually open the manual that comes with the game. That gets installed in the files when the aircraft is initially installed. But there's many other things you can do. So you've got lots of useful flight information, environmental information, and you've got aircraft details here, speeds, max takeoff speeds, all that kind of good stuff. You've got a bunch of checklists here, which are very cool, very realistic. We're not really going to follow any of that today because there's no point. We've got some emergencies in here. One I want to highlight to you is this hydraulic pump failure. So I may be able to show this to you in one of the videos, but I had a hydraulic pump failure issue where I managed to get the plane to take off, but after we'd taken off, I couldn't then raise the landing gear. Now there's a hydraulic pump failure procedure here to keep the plane flying. There's also a procedure to, I don't think it's in this list, but I'm sure I've read it in the manual, where there is a way to manually lower the landing gear. So if the hydraulics fail whilst your landing gear's up, it should hold it up by default, but then there's a manual way in which you use gravity to lower and lock in place the landing gear. So that somewhere that is possible in this aircraft. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere, but I think there's a lot more they could do with this. I think there's a lot more failures they should include. But I'll show you all this in a bit later on. Now there's loads of different control options you can have. You can see the central console can be swapped out for GNS systems if you like to cheat. I don't like to cheat, so we'll just stick with the default. And obviously, you know, I'm a drugs and gun running pilot, so I want to stay off the radar as much as possible. So I won't be using the radio at all. In fact, I'll be navigating by the seat of my pants most of the time. And I'm really looking forward to sort of getting that together. So you can see here that you've got all of the miscellaneous features, capabilities. You put the parking brake on. That's this thing here. Now you'll notice, this took me a little while to figure out. If I move that out of the way and you try and put the handbrake on, it don't work. You can't do it. And that's because it's not really a parking brake in the normal sense of the word. What you have to do is put the toe brakes on the rudder pedals, and then this will hold them in a braking position. So that's how that works. You have to put the brakes on first, then you can put the handbrake on. Not a lot of people seem to know that. Took me a while to figure it out. I didn't see it written in the manual anywhere, but yeah, that's how it's done. That's why I couldn't get it to work. You got lots of different states that you could set up. You've got all the lights. You could do everything on here, which is also clickable on the cockpit. The electrics as well, batteries, avionics, pedo heat, alternators, etc., etc., etc. You can also control the autopilot, which is down here. You can control that from within the manual as well. Don't know why you'd want to do that. And I've seen a lot of people hit the auto start button when they can't get the aircraft to start. Hopefully I'm going to explain to you today how to get around that properly. And I say properly with a bit of hesitation because this is my solution to the problem. And I'm trying to get clarity from the devs to say whether or not I'm doing it correctly or whether or not there's an alternative or whatever. Because I spent a lot of time trying to fly this plane in its worst condition. Because I find that far more fun than if it's brand new. You've also down the bottom got advanced options. It's very difficult for me to click on anything. There we go. So you've got, and you can see I've got this set to 10 and 1,000 times. So the failure rate and the wear rate start off in normal. So nothing should fail or wear out too quickly. But I was doing a test and I so wish I'd been able to record that footage. But unfortunately I didn't. So you can have 8.3 kilohertz com radios. If I turn that on, I don't know what difference that makes if I'm being totally honest. You've also got turbo strength. Now, the original A2A A600 aircraft didn't have turbos, and I'm not sure whether the turbos have been implemented fully in this or not. So it's a little difficult to know whether there are turbos or not. So I'm not going to play about with that too much. But if we just go back to these options, you can see you've got cockpit persistence by livery. And I'm trying to work out, and I've asked the devs to clarify what the difference between the two is. I know when you fly the plane, it can get covered in bugs and muck and stuff. And I think over a period of time, it can degrade. So it looks a little bit older, a little bit more rusty, a little bit more run down. So I just want a bit more clarity around what the difference between those two are. I've also got realistic parking brake and realistic steering. I'll show you that later. In fact, I've already showed you the realistic parking brake system, but they appear to be the same whether you turn them on or not. Excuse me, I'm also trying to shake off COVID for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. There's a whole bunch of other options. You've got metric temperatures, etc., 24-hour clock, gyro drift, gyro sound, small JPI, that's this thing here. If I turn that off, I don't know any other way of making this big. I think this is the only way you can do it. You can see it becomes this bloody great big screen here. It takes up 2 central points. I hate that. It looks very unauthentic. That looks much better. I mean, possibly even getting rid of it altogether might be something that I like. But A2A seem to like this thing. They find it very important. And I'll show you how important it is as well when we're looking at different persistent states of the aircraft. So let's go cold and dark. I can click on it. So we're now cold and dark. We've got the wheel chocks on, we've got the tie downs down. Everything is where it should be. Fuel and payload, this can all be input here. Not very exciting stuff, I don't think. But maintenance, this is where the really exciting stuff is. So if we go and walk around the plane, we'll see what condition everything is in. Same with the engines. We can do an inspection on that and see what condition they're in. And we can actually analyze what the engine is doing in real time. This is a little bit, excuse me, a little bit gimmicky and a little bit cheaty, in my humble opinion. I try and stay away from this because I try and work out what the aircraft is doing based on what the aircraft is telling me instead of what... Whoa, nearly put the landing gear up. Instead of, you know, what this is telling me. This is sort of like an inside of the engine type thing. With the electric system, pretty much the same thing all over. And pretty good. So when you're on the electric systems, if we come down here, we see we've got 3 different states. We've got new, used, and auction. I only like flying in auction because in auction mode, you really don't know necessarily what state your airplane is in. But let's go to new first. This says, this will reset the persistent state of your aircraft. Are you sure you wish to continue? And yes, I do. Let's turn the battery on first, just to prove that this works, if I can get this out of the way. Right, so I'm turning over the engine, number 2. Deliberately, we have the fuel cut off, so it's not going to start. What it's going to do is it's going to eat that battery till there's none left. And then we're going to click that fantastic charge button. And it's going to recharge the battery for us. I literally didn't see that until just now. I'm so sorry. I don't really want to be doing this video today, if I'm being totally honest, but I've been trying to do it for about 4 days, and this is the first time I felt anywhere near well enough to actually do it. In fact, let me start twisting both engines at the same time, and we'll double the rate at which we can destroy this battery. You can see it's going down. Very nearly there. It's getting harder and harder for the engine to turn over. Now it can't turn over at all. And now the battery is completely depleted. Right, so we'll turn the magnetos back off. We'll hit this charge button. And everything comes back on. That's brilliant. I'm very excited about that. Okay, so that's one request that I put into the devs, which has actually already been implemented. Just wondering if there's any other sneaky little things that I can discover whilst we're here. Right, so we're in a new persistent engine. So if I inspect the engine, you can see everything is green on both engines. Everything is 100%. So sorry. Hunky-dory, really top-notch condition. Oil level is a little bit low. Now, weirdly, we can take all the oil out. And if I inspect it again, it still says everything is 100% hunky-dory. I can put all the oil back in and inspect it. It doesn't really change anything at all. But all of these things can be... And I was asking them if we could fix things independently. I've just figured out how to do it. Okay. It all makes sense now. Take it back, devs. So we'll take a look at this in a minute. Now, you can have different configurations. You can have different grades of oil, which will be relevant in different areas of the world, depending on the temperatures of those areas. I can't tell you what is what, unfortunately, because I don't know the difference, and it doesn't seem to be mentioned in the manual, as far as I've noticed. You can also swap the spark plugs out for fine or massive Again, that's going to make a difference based on whereabouts in the world you are. The landing light at the front is broken. All right, if I click on the landing light at the front, it shouldn't be because we're in a brand new state. It should be 100%. But okay, let's fix it. Right, so that's working now. This plane is now 100% perfect. So if we put that's engine 1 over here, it should start up very quickly. And it will make like a noise, and that's when you give it loads of fuel. So because the engine is so new, it didn't really do the coffee chokey thing. Alternator on, left alternator on, left fuel boost off. It's quite important to clear the old fuel out of the system before you try and start the engine, and I'll show you this in a minute. But anyway, you can see how easy it was to start that. When it's a brand new engine, you don't really need to do this at all because it is in such perfect condition that you could just give it maximum Wellington boots. Excuse me. So good is the engine, you don't even need to turn on the fuel boost. So we'll turn that off, put the fuel on, and we'll just start the engine number 2 with no fuel boost, no primer, no nothing. Just turn it over. I'll press the right button, those. There you go, up and running. Simple as that. It really is easy to get this aircraft up and running. So let's kill it. We'll kill both engines. Fuel pump is off, that fuel pump is off. Right, so we'll turn these back so that they're both on 100%. I'm going to turn that off. And we'll swap the persistence now to a used aircraft. So this is now a used aeroplane. This is not brand new. So if I inspect this, we do expect there to be problems. Battery, low voltage, brake. Excuse me, on the left-hand side is a little bit faulty. But everything else seems to be perfectly fine. There's nothing to suggest that we shouldn't be able to start the aeroplane there. The battery, low voltage, could be a bit of a problem. Maybe we're going to run out of battery quicker. So let's check engine number 1. You can see we've got a dry air pump problem. Engine number 2. Whole bunch of different problems. Electrical fuel pump. So this fuel pump over here won't be working, possibly, on this engine. But we'll leave everything. I haven't touched any of the throttle or anything like that. Everything is exactly where it was. We'll put the fuel boost on. And we'll try and start engine number 1. We'll see how easy it is on a used engine. Try to go. There you go. So not quite as easy as it was brand new. We'll do the same on the right. Again, not quite as easy. A little bit more work required. But we're up and running. And you see this is the engines firing. These are the spark plugs. These are the cylinders and the pistons, etc. These are the magnetos 1 and 2. There's some information there. Now if you click overhaul all, it will overhaul quite literally everything. You see the engine temperature's not quite 100%. This one's still quite cold. Cylinder 2. If you come over here and look at this, if I turn the master avionics on, you can see cylinder 2 is very cold. Something not quite right with cylinder 2. We don't know what it is. But if we inspect, you can see there's more information there. Cylinder 2. Compression is low on this cylinder, and an overhaul is recommended. However, it's technically still airworthy. Worn rings or valves are the likely cause. You may notice some misfires at idle or low RPM, but the cylinder is still able to produce full power. The cylinder may also burn more oil. Keep an eye on the engine, monitor CHT and EGT temperatures. If both start to show low temps, known as cold cylinder, this would indicate a failing cylinder. Bloody hell. Always ringing me. Hang on. Right, sorry, that's dealt with. Right, okay, so you can see what's happening. This is something you would probably like to repair. Now, the dry air pump. This dry air pump has some time on it and may be wearing out. You don't want a dry air pump failure whilst flying IFR, so overhaul is recommended. The aeroplane is still airworthy, but keep a close eye on instruments. Is that persistent element of this aircraft? And it's not like all of these flight sims have the ability to set up faults and failures and stuff, but that's not what this does. This is persistent. If I don't fix that, that will progressively get worse until it completely fails, and it may fail whilst we're in the air. Externally, walking around the aircraft, you look, you wouldn't see anything necessarily that says there's anything wrong with that. And obviously looking at the engine analysis thing here, this is something I probably wouldn't want to do very often. I would be looking at the information coming in here, like cylinder 2 definitely seems to be playing up, and then I'd look at all the like how many amps have we got coming in, so that's not a problem. We've got the gyro pressure, that seems a bit low actually. Fuel flow also seems a little bit low, and you can see that this and this are quite stable. They're not fluctuating very much, so the engine I think is okay. But these are all things I'm going to have to keep an eye on. I know there's a problem. Looking at this, I know exactly what the problem is, but ideally I wouldn't look at that, and I wouldn't necessarily know what the problem was exactly. I would just be keeping an eye on things and trying to make sure that the plane is airworthy enough to fly. So much more fun doing it this way. So much more fun. Right, so let's now kill the engines. They're probably quite warm and everything about them is good. But let's go to auction. So I've just swapped to an auction aeroplane. Now some of the batteries already used. And if we go to the airframe, let's see how much is wrong with this plane. So the left propeller, excuse me, has an issue. I don't know if we could fix that here. The propeller has a lot of time on it. It's not holding its speed as well as it should. It should be overhauled now or in the very near future. But it's not like an immediate problem, but it is definitely a problem. Hydraulic fluid level. Now that could cause serious problems because the flaps and the landing gear all run on hydraulics. If I can click on it, see what it says. Fluid level is low. The system still operates but may show slightly slower flap gear travel. Top off with the specified hydraulic fluid and have the hydraulic lines inspected for leaks. Avoid unnecessary cycling of flaps, gears and taxi gently until serviced. How cool is that? So if there is a leak and I'm aggressively taxiing, I could possibly shake that loose. Let's say one of the pipes is loose. I could potentially shake it completely off, and then, you know, the hydraulic fluid is just going to leak out there and then, and I've got maybe 30 seconds to a minute to get the landing gear up or down, or the flaps up or down, at which point there'll be no more hydraulic fluid and nothing will work from that point on. In which case we'd have to do a manual landing gear deployment, which is mentioned in the manual but not in the emergency procedures system. So okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's have a look at the engines. So the fuel filter's not too good. Cylinder 3's looking a bit knackered. This fuel filter has some time on it. It's possible fuel pressure may already be affected, so you should replace it sooner rather than later. Whoops. Engine number 2. Oh, now the hydraulic lines on engine number 2 are red. So I've seen this a few times, and it can really massively impact how well your engines work, like considerably. I'm going to do a flight in a bit with a totally unknown aircraft, and I've done it already once, but I forgot to hit the record button. And what happened was, you'll see we're flying low and fast through the riverbed, trying to avoid detection, and one of my engines cut out. Now, the interesting thing is, bit of a new car. The interesting thing is that the engine 2 was the one that was looking a bit rough at the start, and engine 1 looked okay, but I put all the wear and tear and everything to maximum, and engine 1 cut out first, and then I lost engine 2. Brilliant bit of flying. I really enjoyed it, even though I didn't quite make it to my destination. But yeah, hopefully the flight that we do in a bit will be as interesting. But things like this, the crankshaft, that's quite a serious problem. The magneto left, that is quite a significant problem. But the hydraulic lines, let's click on it and see what it says. So this, I think, will explain why we're losing a hydraulic fluid. You have hydraulic hoses that have been replaced and leaking lines that should be serviced. Oh, you have hydraulic hoses that need to be replaced and leaking lines that should be serviced. So we are losing hydraulics. And we know that we're losing them on engine 2. So you see how everything sort of links together and makes sense. But okay. We have got some electrics. Let's just charge that battery up to maximum. And so at least we've got a full battery. Let's see how easy it is. And I'll just put these up on maximum again. Everything else is left exactly where it was. And we'll try it with the fuel boosters off. And just see how easily these engines start, if at all. You can see that took an awful lot longer than the new engine did. Let's try this side. Well, I tell you what, I must have done this test 10 times, if not more. That's the first time they've both started on an auction aircraft. Normally, I have to clear them out. So if you ever get to the point where your aeroplane is not starting the engine, I'm so sorry. It's probably because we've warmed them up and everything so that it's a bit easier. And we did that without fuel boost as well, which I genuinely didn't think either of them were going to start, let alone both of them. So yeah, what we're going to do, the battery's down a little bit, nothing too serious. So what we're going to do here is explain to you what I would do in a situation where I can't start the engine. So what you're supposed to do is keep this lean whilst you start the engine, and it will make sort of a coughing noise, which is when it's completely got all the fuel out of its system. At that point, that's when you want to introduce fuel fairly rapidly up to middle, maybe maximum amount, and it should start. Now, if you still can't start the engine, you would come in here to the engines, you would pick the correct engine, and you would either add or remove additive. Now, I want to get some information from the devs about the additive stuff and see how that works. But clean the spark plugs. That's the key thing. Cleaning the spark plugs on its own isn't enough normally. If you just clean the spark plugs and then put these to 100% and try and start the engine, normally that won't do it. That won't start the engine. So you would start it with the boosts on. Don't know if you could hear that, but it kind of went a couple of times. And that's when I put the fuel in. Let's try it on number 2 without the booster on. I mean, that engine was in such good condition, it was just ready to go. It really didn't have any problems. So unfortunately, I didn't really get to show you that. But that is how you would get it going. You don't need a lot of throttle, just a 1/4 inch, which is what it says in the manual anyway. It's about cleaning the spark plugs, giving it a bit of additive maybe if you really can't get the engine going. Bring those fuel inlets down to 0. Get rid of all the old, dirty, filthy fuel that's probably causing all sorts of problems, and then you're good to go. So flaps wise, you've got this lever here. You've got up, and you've got neutral, and you've got down, and it's a persistent thing. So you would put it down and stop. I'm not holding this, it's just the way it's configured. Down, stop. And if I wanted to go up, press up, and I can go all the way up, and you can have anywhere in between these, but 10, 20, 30 full, and then back to neutral. This is all powered by hydraulics. So obviously we know we've got a hydraulic leak, so there's going to become a point where I won't be able to do that because the hydraulics are leaking. And also down here you've got the nose steering thing. Now if I go outside excuse me, right, hang on, let me show you this first. If you press right, see how it switches? As soon as I let go, it goes back to middle. But the way that it's implemented in this game, it doesn't do that. So I've got it bound to a button. And I'm going to press right. And you can see it's going to turn all the way to the right. I'm not holding that button. It's because I pressed it once. It is just going all the way across. If I press left once, it'll come all the way back, all the way over to the left. And you can see just how much that's turning. That is quite a lot of turn. And if I press neutral, it will try and return to the center. But you can see that it can't actually turn, because neutral is basically giving it no input at all. So neutral is turning off the signal rather than moving it back to center. So steering with this system is quite complicated. So it's going left, 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 left. I press neutral, it stops. So internally, if I look at that and I press right, you don't see it moving on the button. If I press left, you don't see it. You don't see it being translated to the animation, but externally it is making that turn, you see. So that's a bit of a problem. Now there is a solution, quote unquote, that's in the manual, and basically you set the neutral button to be active when released or something like that, and that should help it return to center. And that's basically it for the steering. Bit of trial and error, I think. The more you play with it, the easier it'll be to get that working. Right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to shut this down. And we are going to generate a brand new auction. That's a whole new aircraft, new engine, new problems, new everything, right? But I'm not going to look at any of that. I'm not going to cheat. What we're going to do is we're going to hop out. Love this. I love the fact that you can do that from within inside the cockpit. And we're going to go around and have a quick look. So you can see that I've got some sort of burn marks, dirty marks all over the aircraft. That's because it's an auction aeroplane now. It's in a particular state, a bit grubby, a bit dirty. You can wash this, which I love. But let's begin by checking the oil. Now, you've seen this everywhere already before. It's not the best looking oil, but it's certainly not the worst, and there's quite a bit in there. So I'm fairly confident that's going to work. I am so sorry. You can check the fuel, obviously, here. And we do have fuel, so that shouldn't be a problem. Check the ailerons. Flaps shouldn't really move at all. You can load luggage into the aeroplane. Now, I think it would be fantastic, bearing in mind American made is all about guns and drugs and stuff. If you could load different variations, I don't know, maybe someone could go in and mod this to better reflect that. But hopefully what you saw was that the tail end of the aircraft sat down a little as we loaded up the bits and bobs. Take that tie down off, check all of these. Looks like I can't check the trim tabs, but that's okay. We can check the rudder. Seems quite tight, but hopefully that's not a big problem. Take the chocks out. Get the pitot heat off. And down here. Actually, I think it's on the other side. Just check the oil. Yeah, it's not great, but there's plenty of it. Probably in need of a bit of an oil change, but I think we'll be all right for this flight. So we've loaded up with our produce, whatever it is. It's going to come around and check down here. See those three little holes? They're your water test points. Now, in previous versions, you were able to look at that, but in this version, you can't. No. Thank you. So one just assumes that it's all fine unless it says otherwise. So that's the two wing tips and the central fuel tested, and they all look fine. They all look good. So I think everything is off. Pitots off. Tie downs are off. Chocks are off. Now, bearing in mind, I've just reset this to be an auction aircraft, so God only knows what's wrong with it. Excuse me. So, we're in position. It's easier to shut that from above rather than below, otherwise you might get out of the aircraft again. So I'll put the headphones in a moment. So let's do this properly this time. The battery's already on. Fuel booster on. Let's do it the shortcut way and see if we can get away with it. She wants to go. She wants to go. Right, she isn't firing. Let's try engine number 2 because we desperately need some power coming into the battery. Okay, so I said to you, I've done this test like 10 times, and at no point does it ever work with these two. So now I get to show you how I do it properly, hopefully, if it does work. Now, this is a solution that I've come up with. So hopefully it works. Right, so we're on engine 1. I'm going to clean the sparkies. And that 2 or 3 times. Give it a little bit of throttle. Maybe that's why they didn't start, actually. Right, let's try starting engine number 1 again. Started first time. Magneto left on. See, we got fuel in all 3 of our things. Right alternator not working. Let's try and turn this one on. Okay, so engine 2 doesn't want to play ball. So we'll switch to engine 2. Clean the sparkies over there. 3 times is the charm. And we'll try again. Okay, engine 2 is playing silly buggers. So we're going to put a bit of additive in, clean the sparks again. And this time, I'm very much, for God's sake, going to try and let it run a little longer to get rid of the old fuel before I start putting more fuel in. Did you hear it sort of coughing and spluttering? Okay, so we're going to have to go recharge this battery. But did you hear it sort of cough and splutter a little bit? I nearly got it to turn over then. We were so close. Good news is that the alternator is kicking power out, so the battery will be charging. So we are getting power coming in. If I turn off the master avionics, that will help boost this up quicker. So I'm going to drop that down again. We might get 1 turnover if we're lucky. Let's get rid of the additive. Hit the spark plug clean. See, I hate how close they are. I think the overhaul option should be somewhere else completely. Up at the top maybe, or something like that. Something well out the way, because it's so easy to accidentally click it. I've done it twice, just to prove the point. Right, so the sparkies are clean. Fuel pump is on. Didn't get it. We didn't get it. Okay. That's all right. The electrical systems are charging, but we're going to cheat and do a quick charge. Or swap the battery out. In that case. And let's give this additive. Oh my. Clean the sparkies. And listen out for that little cough and splutter, because that's when you put the fuel in. There. Did you hear it? It's very subtle. There's a certain moment where the engine has cleared out all the old fuel and it just gives like a one clean, it just goes like it's cleared its chest and it's ready for clean fuel. Anyway, that's how you do it without cheating. So let's get the right alternator on. Let's come over here and look at our tabs. So actually, I'm quite happy with that. We seem to have stable fuel, stable oil, stable RPM. Now, one of those two engines looks like the right-hand engine is maybe struggling a little bit, but the left-hand engine's been running for a while, so it's properly warmed up. The left-hand engine is probably happy and ready to go. Auxiliary hydraulics, oh dear. Does that mean it's on or it needs to be on? It's on. We'll turn the hydraulics off. We're initializing here. We'll see what the cylinders are doing. So it looks pretty good. Engine 2's got an oil problem, even though it's telling us that engine 2 has what appears to be perfectly fine oil condition, but yeah, it's not warmed up yet. Bit of concern. What have we got over here? Hydraulic pressure's quite low. It's a bit of a concern. Amps are good, so we haven't got a problem there. We've got good gyro pressure, so we haven't got a problem there. We definitely have a problem on engine 2. Oh my god, I did not mean to pull that out. Right, okay. So we're pretty good. We're ticking over. I'm going to leave it for a moment. And what I'm going to do for fun on this flight, you see we now have both alternators sending power back to the battery, so that's all good. Power-wise, we're fine. Oil, we may have a bit of a problem with oil. I didn't want to look at that. That was an accident. How do I do this? Oh, I think it's... Where is it? Flight info controls. There it is. So I'm going to come down here just for this flight. Open up the advanced options. I'm going to put everything to maximum degradation. So everything's degrading, wearing much quicker than it would be, and faults are happening at 1,000 times the rate that they would normally. So the chances of us getting to our destination are slim, at best. You can see here things like this. You got the vibrations coming through on the sun visor. Drop those two down. So yeah, engine 2 is giving me some concern. Engine 2 temperature's not quite come up yet. Oil temperature is coming up, but hydraulic pressure is definitely low. So we may not be able to get our landing gear up here at this rate. That's what I'm thinking. Right. So I think we're ready to go. Pablo Estevez, or whatever his name is. I said, get my drugs out of here. I'm fed up with watching you faff about. So we'll release the handbrake and we'll get going. Lovely noise as we try and take off on this very bumpy, very dirty track. Need about 110 to take off. That's 100 now. We're doing 110. So we're running out of runway as it is. Very steady takeoff. Stay away from that tree. Landing gear up. Hoping those 3 lights will go off. That's not good. Those 3 lights are still green. I got a horrible feeling that our landing gear is stuck down. But we're at maximum throttle. We don't have any flaps at the moment. Let me see if I can lower the flaps. So the flaps are lowering, but they won't come back up. So yeah, we've lost hydraulics. If I pop outside for a second, you can see that we've got landing gear stuck down. Oh, this is not ideal for this flight. The thing is, if you go back and land, there's a very good chance that the Colombian drug lords are going to shoot you in the face. So what you do is you just suck it up. Alrighty then. Restarted the system. We are hopefully good to go. Ready to fly. Everything is down and off. We'll turn everything off. For some reason that was alright. Where's this one then? Oh man. Don't know why that happens sometimes. Right, so brake on. Handbrake on. That's back, so that's good. A2A. Light info controls. Cold and dark. Everything is off. Everything is set to realistic. Advanced options. Everything is set to maximum. We'll come to maintenance and we'll load a brand new auction aircraft. Right, this time I'll just inspect from here. Propeller issue, aileron issue. Oh, don't really want that, but that's what we've got. Okay, so battery on. And we're just going to go. Crack the throttles. Doesn't want to play ball. Oh, might help if I gave it some fuel. This is what normally happens, you see. Bit of additive. Clean the spark plugs. Try it again. Oh. Try turning the fuel on, you idiot. Here we go. Did you hear it that time go? All right, let's get number 2 up and running. Well, that one started up nice and easy. Perfect. Fuel pumps are off. Everything is on. Alternators are on. Put that away. You can see we got a lot more hydraulic pressure this time, so I don't have to worry about that. Engines look stable. Running up at about 12,500. You can see the left engine's a little less stable than the right. It's something I maybe need to keep an eye on. Amps are maxed out, so that's not a problem. Get the avionics on. Excuse me. Both got oil concerns. Cylinder 3 is playing up on engine 1. That explains the drop in RPM. Flaps drop down to 10 degrees, fine. And they raise back up again, fine. Perfect. It's a little bit of a drop in the hydraulic pressure there. I'm a little bit aware of that. And the left engine is definitely not very happy. Let's give that a little bit more RPM. Hopefully it will stabilize itself whilst everything comes up to temperature. Gyro pressures are good. There you go. Hydraulic pressure's just jumped back up. Couldn't tell you why that was, although I've just noticed that we've just lost another cylinder on engine 1. So we're losing pressure on 2 cylinders on engine 1. That's really not great. But it's going to make the flight a lot more interesting, that's for sure. Still getting oil, not pressure problems. Cylinder temperatures are definitely lower on the left engine than they are on the right. I'm going to try and favour the right engine throughout this flight. Amps are still good. Fuel and oil pressures look good. Oil temperatures coming up. Okay, I think we're good to go. Before these Colombians kill us. Oh, hear how lumpy that is. That's not going to last long. Engine 1 really not happy. Handbrake off. Away we go. We don't have a huge amount of rudder control. Remember, I've got to stay below 500 feet. We're at 100 now. Starting to pull up. Airborne, gear up. The green lights have gone out. It looks like we've got one of the cylinders back, that's good. Or maybe I'm just... Yeah, it looks like we have. All I've got to do now is find the river. There she is. Stay down nice and low. And I forgot to do this again. I wish there was a way you could just set it to auto start recording every time you took off or something. Right. Excuse me. Gotta make sure I'm going the right way. Otherwise I get into all sorts of trouble. Hopefully, if we did pop up as a blip on anyone's radar, they'll think we're a helicopter. Okay, 300 feet, that's about where we want to be. Flaps are up. Everything's looking good. Oh, left alternator's just packed up on me. We've lost an engine. Come on, engine one. That's it. Fire up. So I can't drop engine one lower than 15 units of manifold pressure or it'll cut out. So there you go, that's our first failure. We haven't even got very far yet. I may have mentioned already that this plane flies incredibly well, even on one engine. So losing an engine isn't the end of the world. Losing two is obviously a big problem. In fact, it looks like engine one is just mere moments from failing on us. This is not as easy to fly as it was the first time I did it. And there are some pretty tight corners around here. Look at that red over there. I don't know what that is. Bit of sand, I guess. What the hell's going on here? It's all a bit lumpy. Nice and low though. We're below the trees even. Nobody's going to see or spot us. And if they do, we're going to come flying past them so quickly that they'll do well to get our tail number. Yeah, all the water's gone all lumpy. That's very strange. That was a bug in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I thought they fixed it. Nothing at all. She is gone. Well, there's proof of it. We can fly almost as well on one engine as we can on two. I might drop that RPM back a little bit just to save the engine because she's going to get hot and blow up if I keep her on maximum throttle the whole time. Make flying a little more difficult, I have to say. Still pulling some seriously tight corners, all on one engine. I've got to turn off that left alternator because that's going to be sucking power. I don't have this set up, whoa, particularly well. Trying to use the mouse is getting in the way of the joystick. Switch it off like that. It'll be interesting to see whether the replay has both engines running or one of them. Still got my RPMs too high. Let's drop it a little bit more. Oh no! Getting an engine malfunction. I think we're going to lose both engines any second now. So we've got the RPMs down a little bit now. Let's hope it's enough to keep this aeroplane flying. I don't think it's going to be. I think we've lost. I think we've lost the aileron because I just couldn't turn anymore. Maybe it was the RPMs. I don't know. So hopefully I've showed you some useful stuff. And hopefully I've also identified just how fantastic this aircraft is. It's so easy to fly, even with a dodgy aileron and one engine out. You know, I was still hammering those corners at 150 miles an hour. It's such a shame that I didn't get the first recording of that because I got so much further and it was so much cleaner a flight. It was brilliant. I'll definitely be doing that again. And I highly recommend this aircraft. It is such a cool plane. So cool to fly. And you know, if gun running and drug running is kind of your thing, I don't think there are any planes better than this from the 70s and 80s. So 100% highly recommend it to anyone who wants a fun and enjoyable aircraft. Thanks for watching, guys. I shall see you in the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye for now.